today, Rinpoche explained clearly how the Bodhisattva at the 8th level has achieved the same realization as a foe destroyer and has had the afflictive obstructions removed. But they still haven't become a Buddha because there's something missing. Today, Rinpoche shows us what's missing.
Shiro jibu deba tenju lenge tu la ngas de lari chimo shugu sonja jeju shesong tatal do de isare samare sonja jeju shesong odenma isare ba ale sonja dane yazi sarda son chu guji juni wole ju son do tada gelante cheki do tada gelante dane
It's Namgyal Monastery.
What Shiro Jibu said the Lord Saji Jidig do Janjibe. Takande good la Hajan Gabi to Marbe. My name is Yandi Taji Drugu to Nibache. And the Somba the Gadi Taji address Jibu Marbe. That Jiba the Shiro Jamba said.
Okay, so then the Puig, the Tsikare Yanger, the
Dedagi led and Tony Gomba shoot now you know Manama said Chigit Dedagi Lan
Dedagi Lan then Tomba Ni Gombi
shoot now you know Manamas what the Manduna.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be on page 88 in the English. The path of these persons is indeed, so the third paragraph down, that should correspond with where we are here. Yes. So in this specific section, we'll show that only wisdom alone or intelligence alone will not allow you to become a Buddha. So this section will show how wisdom alone will not allow you to become a Buddha. How a union of method and wisdom will be necessary. So during the New Year and during festive times and when Tibetans make offering, they fry up these things, and then they have them with their tea in the morning. So Ted's handing out, I think that's what's happening, they're going to look like little fried, cracker type things, and they just go with the tea, and it's a traditional Tibetan food. You see especially during times of festivals and so forth. It's Kangalas.
Yeah. All cultural trade that little drink together.
Rinpoche was just saying you have it with your tea.
Happy New Year.
The losa tanda kab gadu tearing. Kasa. So on the Tibetan calendar, it's tomorrow. We're right around the time of the actual Tibetan New Year on their calendar. So this is when you see a lot of these things arrive. The Tibetans in the community will fry them up and bring them as an offering to Rinpoche. So we tend to have a lot of them all over the altar. anybody who's new, this is Khensur Rinpoche. He's a retired abbot of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's monastery. He holds the degree of Geshe Lharampa, which is the highest degree you can achieve in the Tibetan Buddhist Gelug tradition. And he was sent to the United States to be the head of the North American seat of the Dalai Lama in Ithaca many years back, and then given permission by the Dalai Lama to retire here at the Chenrezig Tibetan Buddhist Center. And in terms of being around the world and Tibetan Buddhism in general, Rinpoche is really recognized, even by the Dalai Lama, as one of the greatest living scholars of the Buddhist tradition. So it's very rare to have a teacher with the qualifications that Rinpoche has anywhere in the world. I mean, I've been to India and Nepal. It doesn't matter where you go. It's very difficult to find a teacher. And to find a teacher who's qualified is that much harder. And then to find one who's qualified in Middletown, Connecticut is almost impossible. So we really rejoice in the opportunity that we have, and because Rinpoche is here with us. Since '98, Rinpoche came. Labsar.
Lante Tony Gombe da kan da hajang ta da marbe hajang ta da kan ya sal kan ya ma da de sha ba de rendo
Leso, the kitchen.
wa de da be hajang ge hajang la so da da ke la de ne Tony Gombe shu da yu na memes da nga so oma ba cha ja ba oma be Tony Gombe yu oma be Tony Gombe de re go ma
Middle way.
shu da yu na memes Kete Tony Gomba in two jans, Kete Tony Gomba in ya Tomba ni tun Shiji Malu ba ne Gulu Manowa Gombe Toba Yoba Naji Tomba ni Kona Gomba Shawa in la Shu Kundu Bi Yu Jena Mogon Sheba Yana Tena Kidu Zone Gom Gottomane be mugu so she manane solo tanji dan geshin zebi lanle deba kona na des teba chembo wa naji druba shawa ne menebe nyangal deba yela tala kwala meneba tene te kona ni tu bi shiro dan dan bala debi lajerin ba dans Sami Lajiri Vasagres, Esheji Tuasagres, Shiro Cha Sheba na Druba in Las, Shiwanyangan and Debane, Chinhembi Shiro Chinhemba Ribi Shiro Dan, Kunduji Dembala Dembi Lajiri Badan, Jachi Landan, Sonaji Sudan, Toji Cha Sheba na Naji. Drugbisharos, or the Bado Jignon Tamadredisha.
And the Jipa Rinpoche? The Sache, the Chenmo?
The Jipa, the Tony to be Shera Jamba Gongina, do Tabatu Maris, or the Telematres Marbe.
The Sache Jipa.
Sache Jino, or the Jiba.
Okay, two Chena. So, and again, following the outline, this is the fourth category in Jayan Sheba's outline. And that category reads that Sherab Jamba, only wisdom alone will not allow you to become a Buddha. So we'll begin reading here. And Rinpoche gave commentary as he was reading, so I'll do the same. The path of these persons is indeed not at all in the direction or vicinity of a meditation on emptiness. So here, this is a negation of the view that Hashan brought forth, that stated that one only needed to empty the mind, that not thinking was somehow meditation on emptiness, and that this was the ultimate goal, that not thinking, emptying the mind of thought, would then somehow allow you to become Buddha, and that there weren't other things that were above that practice. So this was the view of the Chinese abbot Hashan, and then it's negated in various ways, but it will go on to negate. It says, so it says, it is not at all the path of these persons. So this is referring to Chinese Abbot Hashan and the presentation of not thinking as a path. It says, is indeed not at all in the direction or vicinity of a meditation on emptiness. So when we look at the views that have been presented in the tenet systems, and we look at the highest view, the middle way view, the Madhyamaka view, the view of not thinking does not fall anywhere, it says, even within the vicinity of the correct view of emptiness. So it's saying that there isn't even any thing that we can say is within the vicinity of the correct view if we say that the ultimate view is to empty the mind of thought and to not think. It says, but even if you were to allow that is a meditation on emptiness, so if you were to say that this not thinking is meditation on emptiness, you would not then go on to say that those with the knowledge that comes from their cultivation of a faultless method of meditation, after they have found the unmistaken meaning of emptiness, should meditate on emptiness alone and not cultivate conventional states of mind pertaining to deeds, or alternatively, do not have to strive at those conventional states of mind in a variety of ways, upholding them as a core practice. To say such things contradicts all the scriptures and completely flies in the face of reason. For the goal for practitioners of the Mahayana is a non-abiding nirvana. So the unsurpassable type of enlightenment that the great vehicle practitioner, the Mahayanist, seeks is the non-abiding type of nirvana, the complete faultless Buddhahood, where one does not abide in nirvana, is not attached to abiding in nirvana, nor cyclic existence. So it's saying that if one wishes to achieve the Mahayana form of non-abiding nirvana, which is the unsurpassable complete enlightenment, it's not possible to do so with wisdom alone, because there's so many scriptures and so forth that put forth the fact that method has to unite with wisdom in order for one to become a Buddha. So it says, to say such things contradicts all the scriptures and completely flies in the face of reason. So contradicts scriptures and presentations of the Buddha, but then also contradicts, if you were to think for yourself and reason it out, you would find it contradicts that as well. For the goal for practitioners of the Mahayana is a non-abiding nirvana. For this you have to achieve non-abiding and cyclic existence via the wisdom that knows reality, the stages of the path contingent on the ultimate, the profound path, the collection of sublime wisdom, the so-called factor of wisdom. You also have to achieve a non-abiding and the peace that is nirvana via the wisdom that understands the diversity of phenomena, the stages of the path contingent on conventional truths, the vast paths, the collection of merit, the so-called factor of method. So here all of these things are being pointed out as presentations in Scripture of necessity, that these are all things that are needed to unite with wisdom. So it's showing that wisdom alone will not allow you to become a Buddha, that you have to achieve all of these sorts of collections of method, which are called the collection of merit, technically. So when we look at the becoming a Buddha, it's necessary to have two specific collections, the collection of exalted wisdom and the collection of method. And without this union, it's not possible to become a Buddha. So here it's saying that with this method missing, you can't have the collection of the collection of merit that's necessary to be in place to become a Buddha. So this is the point that's made here, and that the not thinking view and meditation on not thinking does not fall anywhere in the vicinity of the true view of emptiness the Buddha put forth in the Middle Way School. Decent.
What don't know what the Niba Tata. Then Jackie to some said the Endua. Then Jackie
Nipa. Okay.
take it to some 상지 메셔 빈도레스 상지 메셔 빈도레 예제지 투네 녀모바 타지 봉안줄라스 요라소 네 소나지 투제네 네 senjent taji nyawa tsuwa njuwa la suhos, nyawa tsuwa la suhos. Chungden de tata labe, shangchu senpa chenpo, chenpo, suwa dan ishe ji tsula, zunba jiwu she dang, papa nakan zue le jang, shira ji shebe ne, nyoma ba tangji yongsun doro, taji shebe ne, senjent taji yongsu, ndoro she dang, papa gongpa drebindo, tan domo pa changgdo papa gongde le chans, senjen je, tuan shinto, mashuba tang, yuji ngompa shawa tangje la, shinto, mashuba ne, lana meba yang taba zubi shang chudu nga longma tento, she so, taba tu nyingpa re.
Okay.
Ta sanji me chabindo le terendo, 다 간데 촌이 말을 소나고 소다 시 촌이 이제 담바니 란타시니 레보코니 서로 이제 르고도 담바 도나 담바니 란을 잡아이나 나 소나다 가서 타도 싫어니 레볼 주고도 주고니 어떤 자도 소나고 소다 시 소들래도
The long yanjusurnang gongya mabishi.
안네
The long yanjusurnang.
그래서
The
소나 실내종 다보거니 또 시디나 레신 청원지 말베 소나 대시고 소라 때네 최고도 소근이도 토용을
top
소나 실내종 다보거니 도와줬어
je damba this
이제 담바니 질 고도 담바도 담바니 이제 초초 말베
je damba ni
란타시니
the lam tachi
란 타드
je
시라니
damba ni lam tachi.
타시니 레보코니
Need that dark part of the jigadu. Okay.
고도도 갈레라도 고도도 이제 사바인지래
Less so. Okay, so this will be broken down. This section, number 4, is broken down into different points of view as well. So the first point of view we went over just now. And then the next point of view, we'll find many quotes from sutras and so forth that Lama Tsongkhapa will present. So it says, the sutra following the Tathagata's inconceivable secret thus says, the collection of sublime wisdom eliminates all afflictions. The collection of merit nurtures all living beings. Bhagavan, since this is the case, Mahasattva Bodhisattvas should strive for the collections of sublime wisdom and merit. And then there's a quote from the Questions of the Sky Treasure Sutra. It says, with the knowledge of wisdom, you completely eliminate all afflictions. With the knowledge of method, you include all living beings. So here, that was from the Questions of the Sky Treasure Sutra. And then the Sutra Unraveling the Intended Meaning says, utterly turning away from the welfare of all living beings, and utterly turning away from all participation in motivated action, I have not taught these to be unsurpassed perfect enlightenment. So here there's many scriptures showing that there has to be the union of method and wisdom in order to become a Buddha, and that the Bodhisattva requires this union on his or her path to Buddhahood. So we find a quote in scripture that says, with the four, the two truths and the paths of method and wisdom, we find the result of the two bodies. So here the two truths are referring to conventional truth and ultimate truth. So this is speaking of the knowledge of this reality and diversity, the reality, the knowledge of conventional reality, as well as the knowledge of ultimate reality. So this is what's being spoken of here when it says the two truths. So it's speaking of conventional and ultimate truth. And the pathway of method and wisdom, we find the result of the two bodies. So here, the pathway is this union of method and wisdom that's being spoken of here. And then the result are the two bodies. And in here, speaking of the form bodies and then the truth bodies. So this is what is mentioned here. So in order for one to become a Buddha, it's said that there are these two collections that a bodhisattva amasses and has to complete. And it's the collection of exalted wisdom and the collection of merit. Leso. The Yabudu.
ne toni gongwa sa ma res jian yi la me je gwa da ma go ngolo den yin is la ju ma res an san san ji ma che ben do la so so na go to da je go to san ji go bon to bi yin zon do was te long de jan de mar ba
Leso.
te long mo ba jan do te kama la she la ge long mo ba jan ne ha shan le pa do
Leso.
ne jian yi la me je ba to de toni la ju ma res so na de je so no ge shi tu tu de zin lo ju ma res gwa yin na de zin de nyo mo yin na de zin lo ju ma res ne so no ge tu de shi tu tu de la de ne sa ju go tu res wo de ndo mo ba zhang de wo zhu de ma ba wo ko tu de na de la sha na nge no go.
So the master Hashan stated that not thinking was actual meditation on emptiness, so that emptying the mind was meditation on emptiness, and that was what was required. And he presented that whether it was virtuous or non-virtuous, it was all grasping at some sort of true establishment. So therefore, to counteract that, one just needed to empty the mind, and then that would counteract this grasping, and that everything conceptual is necessarily grasping, virtuous or non-virtuous. So Kamalashila came and debated Master Hashan and was able to disprove all of these things that he held as truth. And the part of the presentation that Kamalashila gave was that this union of method and wisdom is necessary. And this conceptuality is necessary. And he disproved this idea that it didn't matter whether it was virtue or non-virtue. It was always grasping at true establishment. And he disproved this by showing that this collection of merit had to be there in order for the Buddha to have achieved, in this case, Shakyamuni Buddha, his goal of Buddhahood. So showing that this had to be there, it negates the idea that this one side alone of wisdom would suffice. So there has to be this union. So that meaning, but also that just as a translator's note, and Rinpoche said to explain it, that the method, when one is engaging in actions in generosity and in ethical behavior and helping others and so forth, one understands that their actions are empty of true existence. They're empty of true existence, and the person they're helping or what they're doing is empty of the basis is empty of true existence. So when we say this union, we're talking about uniting method and wisdom. It's putting these two together into this a being's complete actions. And without this union, one can't become a Buddha. With only one can't become a Buddha, or the other one can't become a Buddha. It has to be this union of both. It's indispensable because of the collections that are necessary ultimately to produce the various bodies of the Buddha. And that part was not translator's note that Rinpoche said to Diso.
Kashi jabu joba, kashi jabu joba, kanyin ba te, 포렌지 셔 랑게 샤자라 신바 데 셔로 치와 이나스 샴베스바스 존덴데 드네 말라소스 워데 다니바도 드네 용도 다 마포바스는 자샤망고 송고르와 자샤망고 상지게 있는 자샤망고 저와 인사 말바 마포바 데 제냐도 센스 데 가르레스 가시 잡을 줘봐서 가시 잡아서 가시 로마지 잡은 이제로 가시 잡을 줘봐 강인바데 네 프렌지 셔 랑게 샤자라 신바스 프렌스 다 베이징서 말바 프렌지 셔 랑게 샤자라 신바스 프렌들 베이징들 비체도 그런 게 샤탄 차 들리시 신바 이제로 신바데 셔럽 쳐봐 이나스 프랑기 제도네 랑게 샤자 신바 당바데 셔럽 쳐봐 레베스 네 산지기 자샤망을 쳐봐 이제로 이남 샴베 수바스 자샤망을 산지를 줘봐 이제로 샴베 수바 존된 든 말아소스 프랑시 랑게 샤자 신바 당바데 셔럽 쳐봐 일러줘 말레스 존된 든 말아소스 what about neighbor?
Just go. De Joa Lasso, Kabar Sar. Nipa de Long Sum.
Nipa Mampomba, the Chenyan to sense. Mampomba was at the Mare. Joa Lasso was a tombo coin bar. Tombo de tombo.
The Nipa Long Sum, the Gama.
Nipa
De Jepa. Yene
Nipa Mampomba, the Chenyan to sense. Nipa Timondua.
Nipa de Long Sum. Gama de Nipa de Long Sum Lapsang.
Nipa Long Sum, Tamapomba de Mapomba. The Chenyan to sense. Sanjiki Josh among will trot on Rabadua. The Carres Kashi Jabujobas Lumaji Jabujoba Gayan Bate Puranji Pijing Shadow and the Kuru Shara Jimbatambare, the Shero Cheva the best Ina Shambe Suba Sanji Juba in Jerva, the Shero Cheva Mares, Jonen Delama, Ten Malasos, what about the Nibare?
I just want to make sure that our numbers are all matching up. So. Yeshe Gitso ni Nyomompa Tamche Pombar Jorwa Lasso.
Ungol Mate and then the Shijan Ungol Mate Segundo, so no to the Shizu. So no. Je n'en tombe de tombe. Tomba dans la conjusion, j'aime goncher sawa tene, joden de je, shunghamalane,
The Tambo.
Tata ina, shanchu sembi, tuso, keba toma jimba tangwa, chutin chewa la suba tene, ngade magu, shero chewa sonde. 네 나바타바 듀발레스 샴바 샹주 샴바나지 하루도 샴바 조양다버 루반데네 루비 샹주지 셔리나 히나스 달라만나부터다 되게도 샹주 샴바 셔러지 하루도 샴바 고나라 러바샤이 하루도 샴바 하만나네 제샤시 서진 대달라 바로도 신바 제달라 선진바 센소스 워더바 담보 들면 대콘을 쏘나고 쏘나 이제 쏘든 저든도 소나 또 상주 생라 소부터 소나 투인라고 말봐. 상주 생라 소부터 소나 투레스 이시그 다 돈이 두비셔라. 어떤이 델해도
Then the Lamrim Chenmo, the Chanka Gari,
나는 저 손자 예주 셰두를 공고를 만들어.
Jit Drew.
손자 예주 셰두를 예주 셰두. 300 Buddhists.
The Kashi, the Lama song, it's not the Gaia, the
알랑고고
the-
동고도
the
말해봐 지금.
Kanga Lama song.
차 담아도 마. 소나도 예수사도 그것만 누구도다.
Then the Triwadan Lenja, the Shanchu Semba, the Tsongkang Gare, the Tarpa Gare, the Jitsun Shambadang,
또 로가지로도 너 가도도 말어도.
Yene Samazu Zugo, the Gangesina, the Ngama, the Ngatsu, the Lung Sum Dang Song, the Sumja Jipju Jeje, the Ngatsu, the Sheragi Baro, the Shimba Mayino, Ta La Kepa Ne. Let's go, where are we here? 343. 343.
단단 가서 싫어 장바 제바 싫어 장바. 싫어 집은 되버대 땡줄린 게줄내 줄랑가스 사진가 되는 것도 말봐.
Okay. Then the Yeshe Gitso ni Nyomomba Tamche Pamba Jurba Lasso.
이제 손에
The Nipa Gutso? The Sumja Jipju Jeje.
아무도 손자 제주 셰두로 고고들에 동반이 상라서 아무도 상상제 메셔분도 들어 상상제 메셔분도
Sumja Jipju Jedru. Gola.
골도 동반이 있었어
Tomba Tsanla Gom.
어떨들 동반당라 공주 손에스 제마고 셰서와네 동반이 공 얘나 공고 말해서 나와대 네가 말해서 온들어다 서원은 주된데지 흉 하마를 나네 까지 소지 가요레스 다다 마이나 상주 선비 뒤소 개바도마 임바당 최진 송와라 소바나네 내데 마구이 싫어 치워 송데스 와든 상지 송바 나지 말어 나와데 싫어 치워 인송요레스 시지 송데 나바타바 뒤고 말바 나바타바 뒤발레스 샹바스 당고도 샹바 상주 선반나지 바로 심바 트로 양다버라 로반데는 두베 상주 지체이나스
The Ra song, yene, the Mambo Lama song, the Shugu Ni. Ngatsu,
어때 가둘 다 가둘
Okay.
다
All right.
가둘
Okay, so we're going to move forward. I'm sorry, that's what we're moving forward 2 pages. I'm not sure. I think it may be to make the point. So go to page 90, where it says 346. Furthermore, take emptiness and isolation as what to be meditated on and say. There is no, I'm not sure if pages stuck, I'm not sure what just happened, if his pages stuck together, I'm just not sure. We just jumped a couple pages forward, so I'm just rolling with it. Furthermore, take emptiness and isolation as what is to be meditated on and say. We might go back, this might be just proving a point that we're making, that emptiness alone can't be meditated on. And here is where we find questions from Maitreya. So furthermore, to take emptiness and isolation as what is to be meditated on and say, there is no need to cultivate anything else, expresses an idea that the Bhagavan set forth as a view to be opposed, and he thereupon refuted. Were the statement true, then the many eons of a bodhisattva's practice of generosity, observance of ethical discipline, etc., would be an exercise in faulty wisdom that did not comprehend the definitive, as the Bhagavan says in the Sutra Gathering All the Threads. Maitreya, fools. So this is Buddha speaking to Lord Maitreya. Maitreya, fools, intending to repudiate the other perfections, will speak thus about the bodhisattvas. Correct practice of the 6 perfections for the sake of perfect enlightenment. Bodhisattvas should train in the perfection of... let me try it. Maitreya, fools intending to repudiate the other perfections will speak thus about the bodhisattva's correct practice of the 6 perfections for the sake of perfect enlightenment. Bodhisattvas should train in perfect wisdom alone. The remaining perfections have no use. Maitreya, what do you think? Was he who was the king of Kasha, Shakyamuni, in a previous life, exercising faulty wisdom when he gave his own flesh to the hawk for the sake of the pigeon? So this is showing in Buddha's previous life, he actually engaged in the generosity of giving his own flesh. So here it's showing that if Buddha engaged in this kind of effort and also understood emptiness, why would he have done such a thing if it wasn't needed, if that kind of generosity and effort wasn't needed? Dixon.
This way.
The kashe, the glung kanga, the lama song, gangi sen the mambo.
Tambo kondro. Ta so na ju tu na sha ju sen da.
How we're doing.
O de sha ju sen da ni ji jem to so go so na ju yin. So na ju tu res. Long gu de ju gu ju res. Long gu de ju gu ru ji, zo gu ru ji ju. Ji de so na ju tu se res. Da yi she ju tu se la, tu ji tu bi she ro la. She ro de ji tu. Chu gu ru ji ju yin so what the so gu res.
So these collections are necessary because these collections give rise to the various bodies of the Buddha. The collection of method gives rise to the form body of the Buddha, which, when we say form body, are the enjoyment bodies and the emanation bodies that the Buddha possesses. So the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya are both part of what is called the Robokaya, which is the form and body that is created by this collection of merit. And that refers to practice of the mind that aspires to enlightenment, practice of perfections other than wisdom. It refers to compassion, great compassion and love and so forth. So these all categorically fall under the collection of merit which produce the form body. And then wisdom, the perfection. So if we look at the 6 perfections, the perfection of wisdom falls under the category of the collection of wisdom, and this collection of wisdom produces the truth body of the Buddha. So these are how these 2 collections create the bodies of the Buddha. Digso.
That's not to the longo the jugu jures. Tell it in longo the jugu tours over. That longo the jugu juina, so not to the longo the jugu in legis. What the Kazanga the Rusilo, what the little child there, no. Mago seed the mago tree and the door. The mago seed the mago tree and the do, couldn't mago in your mago tree in your lane logro.
Lesser.
Sadna chutu galo.
Lesser.
The Najin, so now to the Longo don't go in your lane in Hedges, what the Santan was.
Okay, so we went over previously, we thought about this idea of how things are caused. And if things are, when we look at how something comes into being, it either comes into being through a substantial cause or a cooperative condition. So anything that comes into being and necessarily has a substantial cause and a cooperating condition. So this is something that we put forth. So then when we look at the collections of merit and collections of wisdom, and we say that they give rise to the bodies of the Buddha, are we saying that these are substantial causes, or are they cooperative conditions? So we went over this, and Rinpoche is saying, I wonder if anybody's almost gotten smarter or has had a an intelligence arise, an arisal of intelligence since last class, because we talked about this. So Rinpoche is just wondering. Rinpoche said, "I wonder if there's been an arisal of an intelligence since last class, based on this, whether it's a substantial cause or a cooperative condition." So when we look at a substantial cause of a mango tree, for instance, a mango tree's substantial cause is its seed. Its cooperative conditions are the water and the earth and so forth that are necessary in order for it to be produced. Both are necessary, substantial cause and cooperative condition. So what would we say the collections serve as in terms of the arisal of the bodies of a Buddha? Triwa Less so. So the answer to the question is that if we're looking for the substantial cause of these the bodies of the Buddha, we would say that it would be the Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva is what becomes the Buddha. So that would be the substantial cause. The cooperative condition would be these collections. So we would say the collection of exalted wisdom and collection of merit are the cooperative conditions that give rise to the bodies of the Buddha. Or you can say the Buddha, that's sufficient too. Bodies of the Buddha are the Buddha. So if it's a body of the Buddha, it's a Buddha. Even if it's a fingernail of a Buddha, it's a Buddha. So it's not even necessary to say that far. But so we would say cooperative conditions. And the substantial cause would be the Bodhisattva, him or herself. Diksa.
Kashi jabu joba so kashi sulumba jigu yu injerwa jabu joba kanyimba de puran ji shere rangi shara jimba de shero chewa yinas kashi jabu de ge pejin chedo no koron shadan cha jimba tangwa yina ji injerwa de shero chewa rebes shero chewa yinas kushin marbe
Leso.
Shambi Suba, in the Jar Shamang of Sanjil, Shuba in Jerwa, Tamares, Shambi Suba, Jonin Tenda Malazo, Shiracho Mares, Shiracho Malazo, Shirachi Sanashi Moshi and Jig, Shiro Pema took it to the Jil, Shirachi Sumendo, Shirachiwa. Malazo, what about that?
So here the question is posed. Maitreya, what do you think? This is Buddha asking Maitreya, was he who was the king Kasi Buddha? So this is Buddha's previous life. We have, just as a note, they have the previous life stories of the Buddha. And one of the times when he was a bodhisattva, his name was Kasi. And it says, exercising faulty wisdom when he gave his own flesh to the hawk for the sake of the pigeon. So he saved a pigeon's life by giving the hawk his own flesh. And the Maitreya replied, no, Bhagavan, he was not. Here Maitreya is answering the Buddha saying that no, he was not. Mapamba. Okay, Diksan. Lessa.
Oh, that's somebody name, somebody, John Dendy, or then John Dendy, Katzeba, somebody. Janji, but there's somebody Shamare. John Dendy, Katzebas, John Dendy, Katzeba, Shamba, Nashanju Sembi, Jeba Jobanas, and the Shajaman Buddha, and Shanju Sembi Jobana, Parut Shimba Trudan, Dembi, Gitawa. Kanda Saba Sabi Gi Zawa Tada Gi Ngala Naba Jodans Naba Jodan Shambi Suba Jordan then Malasos, then Jordan Yungu, Swaji George Yungua, Jordan de Jacate was Josh among somebody doa. Shamba, Nga Shanchu Sembi, Joba Jebanas, Shajaman Buddha, Shanchu Sembi, Joba Jebi, Tolan Jolan, Tolan Golan, Teva Chembi, Tolan Jolan, Tolan Golan, Golan Gituso, Shanchu Sembi, Joba Jebanas, Shobana, Parudishima Trudan Dembi, Gi Tawakan Sabi, Gi Tawa Tadaki, Nala Nova Chodans, Nandane, Tiba Chembi, Longa Ituzo, Gi Tawa Saja, but again, I'll never best. Tawatendua, Nova Chodan. Shambi Subas, Yashamang, Tawatan Lajagan, Suba, Jordan Tedamalasos, Jordan de Tolan Jolan, Tolan Golan Koso, Shanchu and Shuba Shiba, Jordan del Nogomares, Malaso, Kaleju, Kalea.
So then the Bhagavan continued, Maitreya, when I was performing the deeds of a bodhisattva, did the roots of virtue that I accumulated, the roots of virtue that go with the 6 perfections, harm me? Maitreya replied, no, Bhagavan, they did not. So when did the accumulating, so here, while Buddha was going through the various pathways in order to become enlightened, so we see the path of accumulation, the 5 Mahayana pathways, the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of meditation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning. So while the Buddha was engaging in all of this, it says, when I was performing the deeds of a bodhisattva, did the roots of virtue that I accumulate, the roots of virtue that go with the 6 perfections, harm me? So all these things that the Buddha did that weren't this isolated practice of emptiness, he said, did they harm me? And then Lord Maitreya responds, no, Bhagavan, they didn't. Diksun.
Shambi Suba, Jordan then Malasos, Yan Jordan de Kataba, Lonji Yundo, Jordan de Kataba, Mapombas, Sanjik Josh among Belguro, Mapomba, Church Jan Kabatuju, Jimmy Paru de Shimayantavadu, Kabatuju, Chudi Paru de Shimayantavadu, Kabatuju, Zebi Paru de Shimba, Paru de Shimba, Kabatuju, Sundaji Paru de Shimba, Kabatuju, Sandaji Paru de Shimba, Kabatuju, Shiraji Paru de Shimba, Yantavadu Nas, what about the le Sumba de Rendo, Sumba de Takande, Mapamba Church, Kabatuju, Jimbi Nyale, Kabatuju, Jimbi Nyale, Jimbi Paru de Shimba, Chudi Paru de Shimba said, what Nigo got, Ju Paru de Shimba, Jibi Paru de Shimbas, Ju Paru de Shimbas and the Shanju Sambi Lanto, so Ju Paru de Shimbare, and then Sanju go to Jure de Ju Paru de Shimbas, Jibi Paru de Shimba de Sanji to Ju Lanto, so Jibi Paru de Shimba, Jibi Paru de Shimba Segre, Paru de Shimba the Niquando, Ju Paru de Shimba, Jibi Paru de Shimbas,
And Depi part of the Shimba, the understood, the Sanjay, Shanchu.
Sanji to Ju to Zoro.
Then
Debi Paru de Shimba, Ju Paru de Shimba Sana, and the Shanchu Sambi, Tolan Jolan, Tolan Golan, Mululan, Golan to so, Ju Paru de Shimba Manabe, Sanji go to be Juro.
Less so.
Tangasu Jagan Juro Ina, and Jagan didn't want to do Chokavan Rugisana, Jagan Rugi Lagravata,
Less so.
and Jagan Rugius, Jagan Lesa Marvata, Ju Paru de Shimba, the Marbe.
Less so.
Jagan Lesa Sunan Debi Paru de Shimba. Debi Paru de Shimba Sagrovata, Jagan Lesa Brota,
Less so.
Ju Paru de Shimba, Debi Paru de Shimba, Gogo.
So we're going to get into the third part. So we have this first question that's asked and answered, then the second question that's asked and answered, and now we get into a third question, or a third point that's going to be made, if you will. So we have then to understand the perfection. So we have causal perfection and we have resultant perfection. So we have to break this perfection or gone to the other side, but we usually translate it as perfection. This perfection or highest attainable quality can be divided into two, causal and resultant. All of the Bodhisattva's pathways are causal perfection. So the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of meditation. I'm losing it. The path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning are all Bodhisattva's pathways. So therefore, they categorically fall under causal perfection. Resultant perfection is the actual perfection. So the achievement of Buddha's state of perfection is the resultant perfection. The causal perfection is anything that leads up to that. So this is what is meant by that. So for instance, if one wanted to go to India, the causal going to India would be saying, I'm going to India and making a trip towards there. As soon as one's in India and has arrived in India, that would be the resultant part of that. So the causal would be getting there, and the resultant would be the actual being there. So in this case, the causal perfection is that which causes and gives rise to the resultant perfection. So here in this case, it's all of the Bodhisattva's pathways being causal that lead up to the result of the complete Buddhahood. So all of the excellent qualities of completion fall under resultant perfection. So the excellent qualities of completion. So the Bodhisoha Melulam. The Melulam Depo. Okay, just a correction. When we look at the mantra of the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhisoha, implicitly within that we find the 5 pathways: path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning. So the first Gate refers to the path of accumulation. The second Gate refers to the path of preparation. Paragate refers to the path of seeing. Parasamgate refers to the path of meditation. And Bodhisoha refers to the path of no more learning. It is actually the first 4 pathways that fall under causal perfection. So the path of accumulation, Gate, the path of preparation, Gate, path of seeing, Paragate, and the path of meditation, Parasamgate, all fall under causal perfection. And Bodhisoha, which refers to the no more learning, the path of no more learning, is the resultant perfection. So just a clarification that it's the first 4 paths that are causal. The resultant is that 5th path, that Bodhisoha of the mantra within the Heart Sutra. Okay.
What that then ma that one then is got to be on that Jisung Dua, Mapamba, Sanji Josh among Songo, Mapamba Cheji Jans, Mapamba Cheji Jan, Gabat Jojo, that Gabat Jojo, 6 Pervasion Marbe, 6 Pervasion Rille, Gabat Jojo, Naleche Wares, Cheji Jan, Gabat Jojo, Jimmy Paru de Shimba, Kabato Jimmy Paru Shimanya, Kabato, Jimba Tutin to Paru Shimba, Kabato, Nozobi Paru de Shimba, what the Paru Shimba told Nyaleji or Son Marva,
Lessa.
Kabato Tutin, Paru de Shimba, Kaba Dojo Zebi Paru de Shimba, Kaba Dojo, Jundeji Paru de Shimba, Kaba Dojo, Santenji Paru de Shimba, Kaba Dojo Shiraji Paru de Shimba, Yantaba Drunas, whatever to somebody, Mamudu, the Nega Mamudu.
So this third part of this gets into a lot of points, and it speaks of the six perfections and the necessity of the six perfections. So here it talks about the causal perfections, then giving rise to the resultant perfections. It says, the Bhagavan continued, Ajita, you have so far practiced the perfection of generosity over 60 eons. You have practiced the perfection of ethical discipline over 60 eons, the perfection of patience over 60 eons, the perfection of joyous perseverance over 60 eons, perfection of meditative stabilization over 60 eons, and the perfection of wisdom over 60 eons. So this is obviously going over each of the six perfections and showing that there's been this intense practice of each among those six perfections of ethics, generosity, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. In regard to, and then it says the perfection over 60 eons and the perfection of wisdom over 60 eons, in regard to which these fools will say that enlightenment is only reached through a single way, the way of emptiness. Their deeds will be completely impure. So here, once again, it's showing that only emptiness alone will not allow one to become enlightened. One needs to practice all of the perfections of giving and ethics and so forth in order to couple them with that wisdom, and then one can become a Buddha. Rinpoche, Chutsu Judan Karni.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much.
So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Forgot that no one knew what I said. I really thought everyone in the room. He translated, oh yeah.
That's it. That didn't know the Jignan, the Sun Sata, Jibad Talia, Tiny Badrendo, Telemana was that. Telemana was Angatan Gudua, Lari. Mulamba, the Gito, Chuji Kone, Shanchude, the day, Tombani, Chuji, Tombani, Chuji, so she said there, the Dana Shuba Yunzo, Madabanjuro, Shezos, whatever the Jibadre, there's a Madamudo.
Yun.
Tell a Mulamba that the Gitos, Chuji Kone, Shindugan on Chikona Nalet in the Diggers, the Lokin Yoris, what to do, Madabares, Chuji Kone, Shanchude, the day, Tombani, Chuji, so she said, Tony Chibu Gongina, Shanchu took the second Yoris, said there. Then the Shuba Yonzo, Madabanjuros, Shuba Tayo Mares, Shindu Gugu, Shindu Menasanji to Manjero. Chuji so she said there. The dog Shuba Yonzo Madabanjuro, she was what about Jibare?
Then the Tsuchi Kune Shanshu the Jipa.
Chuji Kone, that Shindu Nana, Shiraji Parati, Tony Chibu Gongina, and then Digger is Lokin Juerota. What the Madabar is, Shindu Shendal Yalema Jina, Sanji Tutu Mares.
Okay, so there's actually this big stanza. So we'll go to page 91. We're back at the Bhagavan says in the Sutra Gathering All Threads. We've gone through 3 points already. We're going to move on to a 4th point, and I'm just going to have to change the... see, the English here has one very long sentence with lots of commas, but there's actually sentences broken down in the Tibetan itself. So the point that is going to come out of here for the 4th point is about there are fools that will say enlightenment is only reached through a single way, the way of emptiness. their deeds will be completely impure. So this is actually a fourth point that's made within this. So there's we don't have time to go over this and break it in, to the Tibetan proper with periods and so forth. But that's the fourth point. There's a period there, and then it'll say that there are those fools who believe that emptiness alone is sufficient, and it clearly is not based on everything that we've just gone over. Okay, Diksung Rinpoche. Sheso.
o debatul nyunyu juma mudwa
Okay, then je.
ta ngaba dere ngaba dena
Okay, good.
돈이
We're
지
good.
또바 유나 돈이 도 셔라 되바 이나 돈이 또바 유나 터지 찰란 베바 쳔비 고마 고소 셰마와네스 돈이 도 셔라 되바 이나 안에 짐발아서 도술 냐네 제고 마레스 마와네 라기 됴비 회지 제로 잠분나 서로 잠분나라 다다기 내도 마구 뒤에 놓으시 고반대바 이노스 고반대바레스 돈이 되게 셔라 집어마도 그거서 러바이나 안에 사자문은 보다게 깨바 장면 손을 신도 냐래 집어 그걸 고반대는 그래스 라기 됴비 회지 제로 땀을 뢰진 발라서봐 와도서 그걸로데 마구 따레스 라기 됴비 회지 제로 소지받다 어떤 뭐 제로 어떤 소지 종로 뭐요로 대수동로 어디 대수에 들어보다 랑게 덤빙 회지 제로 전부남 네 나라 다다기 내도 마구 뒤에 놓시 고반대바 이노스 고반대바레스다
Then a dasi dandu. Okay, so then the fifth gets into now Lama Tsongkhapa's words. We're out of the sutra gathering all the threads, and we're now into the body of the text. Therefore, to say it is unnecessary for someone who knows emptiness to strive hard to cultivate method is a mistaken denial that states in effect the period of our teacher's previous holy lifetimes was a time when he had no understanding of the definitive. So here, it's showing that Buddha Shakyamuni in his previous lives, we have what's called the Jataka tales, the Jerup. And in these stories, it shows the previous lives that Buddha lived and what he or she did in order to become a Buddha through those it's called the 3 countless eons. So they're called the Jataka tales. And it shows all of these things that Buddha went through in order to become a Buddha. So it's saying that, are you saying that the Buddha didn't know the definitive during any of this time when he was engaging in the collecting merit for 3 countless eons? Was he mistaken about the definitive during that whole period of time, or wasting his time in some way? So it's saying that if there's only this one thing to do, why was the Buddha putting forth all of this effort? Was it for naught? So that's the point here. The period of our teacher's previous holy lifetime. So that's speaking of the Bodhisattva, the stories of when the Buddha was a Bodhisattva, was when he had no understanding of the definitive. So that just is negated throughout that and throughout those Jataka tales, where the definitive is presented regularly. Decent.
Tena tumbanyi sadarindwa, tena tumbanyi tuba yue naas, tuni tu shera tu yueba yena ta yenda le, ta ji chala beba chenbi goma gozu she naas, tuni tu shera yue na, ne yenba la soba to sol mbe gu ma rese. Hawa ne, rangi tuenbi jera zambu na la tada ki, nga duen ma gu yus, tu yino she, koba deba yino kunde res, kunde marba. Sanji ge tene, tata shera nisha nyalen che yo ares, wata su, tok ma gu shina wata su na ge ne res, jera lo koba de ne res, unga zare.
So again, therefore, to say it is unnecessary for someone who knows emptiness to strive hard to cultivate method is a mistaken denial that states in effect the period of our teacher, previous holy lifetimes, was a time when he had no understanding of the definitive. So it's showing how incorrect this is, and how the Buddha engaged in method because the collection of merit was necessary in order to become a Buddha. So it's saying that it wasn't done for no reason. He didn't accumulate this for 3 countless eons for nothing. He did this because it was necessary.
다 싫어 잠베 와데 추바세들 사지 나지네 당가bat 차는 말이야.
So these are 5 points that prove that wisdom alone will not be sufficient if one wishes to become a Buddha. So these are 5 points that negate that and show that it's not possible.
다 손바다는 쩨비래 가발라 손레스 ndeba jeba ta gabani ndeba jeba 쩨비래 gabani 용도와 어디 gabani je.
So now we'll get into an opponent's presentation of a position and then a negation of a position. So we get into a debate format now. And translators note, anyone who's new in text like this, the author, it's very common for the author to debate. He's writing it all, but he puts the opponent's position forward and then debates it, because in Buddhism, it's necessary to know your opponent's entire philosophy in order to debate them.
손바들라 쩨비래 가바들라 손레 손 용도 게드세야 되는 말 용어래. 게드 짐발라 소베 게드 짐발라 소베 되는 말 쩨비래 가바 손고 나네 담부들에. 그래서 안가 때마다 안가라디요.
So page 91, again, it says opponent's position and then the reply. And then we're going to have 3 positions and negations, I believe. The Pangja Sum Rinpoche?
다다네 손바 달라 쩨비래 가발라 손레스 도문 데바 줘바다 데가바니 레도아 쩨비래 가바달라 손레 담불라 데바 줘바다 데가바니 도문 게드세야 되는 말 용어레스 게드세야 되는 말.
So here are the opponent's position.
달라
Get it.
쩨비래 가발라 손 쩨비래 가발라 손은 담불라 데바 줘바 데가바니 담은 데바 줘바 쇼스나 게데 짐발라서 어떤 델해 원레스다 줘바레도 도다 줘바.
You're right. Practicing the deeds of generosity. Jimba, then the tambo, the lapsa.
what the tambre 게데 짐발라서 쇼바나라 군하투네 주바네 돈이지 두바 템버 메나 인제스 대연나 대추고시 추고 냥방 로다 쳔버 인데스 어디바도 어디 담보 사는 것도 담보 그때 짐발라서 비셔바나스 짐바 라주 메지 파신도 연주 메지 뒤용 거 보시제 파신도 신루도 신루나라 군하도네 주바네 돈이 두바 템버 메나 인제스 돈이 두바 템버 메나 레마도 돈이 두바 템버 여나 대추고 짐발라서 비신달 냐래 제고 마레스 어디 저버 몸을 해야 되는도와 여나 대추고 냐바 로다 쳔버인데 더 로다레스 로다인데 더다 대양 양다바 이나네 대양다바 이나네 돈담비 덴바 원송도 두비 만두이시 사두비 사천보 취비 제세나다 어디버지 산도도 담보래 담보.
The Gapa, sir?
Duba juba the gaba nigana, duba juba the marba.
The Duba Juba, the
Sumba jubi langabala. Sumba jubi
then they
langabala.
luta in the Gapa.
Tambalan duba juba the gaba ni.
Then they luta in Gapa.
Duba juba tombati get the jimbala suba the rendua. And the gaba jungro, old my ungro.
Okay, so we have the presentation, and then the negation again. So the opponent's position, so there's going to be three, and then negations. Practicing the deeds of generosity and so forth in a variety of ways is when you do not have a firm knowledge of emptiness. But when you do have this firm knowledge, then this is enough. So then the reply is that this is wrong view. If it were correct, then the children of the conquerors who have ascended to the great levels where they have attained the non-conceptual sublime wisdom that perceives the ultimate truth, in particular the eighth level bodhisattvas who have control over non-conceptual wisdom, would not need the bodhisattva deeds. Here the position is that all of the other perfections than wisdom are just until you get to wisdom, and then you don't need them anymore. So here, this is negating this idea that is the case.
Lota Chenmo res, Lota Chenmo. Lota imi jusen data. Te yang tabar Chenmo chubi jese na dans. Chenmo chubi jese na zon du. Shanchu samba golan, tonlan. Ane jolan bat su injer wata. Na dan. Wata bat chide.
So Namdang, then Sar?
Wata bat chide.
Okay. So practicing the deeds of generosity and so forth in a variety of ways is for when you do not have firm knowledge of emptiness. When you do have this firm knowledge, then this is enough. The reply, this is a wrong, very wrong view. If it were correct, then the children of the conquerors, that means the bodhisattvas, who have ascended to the great levels, where they have attained the non-conceptual sublime wisdom that perceives the ultimate truth, and in particular the eighth level bodhisattvas who have control over non-conceptual wisdom, would not need these bodhisattva deeds. So these bodhisattvas that have gone through the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, and path of meditation, during this time where they're engaging in the bodhisattva deeds, is it saying that these were unnecessary? So, and then after seeing emptiness up to these points, were this not necessary? Dikson.
Then this way. Tani ba dene chabar to sa ten mare. Chabar to matu wishe la on to bi sa jebas. Shanju sa jeba. Shanju sa jeba de wode uma tanju wa jena sa shanju sa jeba la drajung ba yim chan de ta. Shanju sa jeba to bi ko so nyari bung bi chan de ta. Sa jeba la drama de ta ta je nyawa shenju shens. Shanju sa jeba cheba do matu wishe la on to bi sa jeba ko so toni to bi shero la on to bi injer wada. Sa dwimba ko so nyarang lu gu ne se jin sa marbe. Tene rendu song lo yang laban juros sa jebal jebi ko de le laba yujiro da. Cheba do matu ise la on to bi sa jebi shanju sa sa jeba. Sa jebi shanju sa na la. Sheba ma go ban jona shanju sa jeba to gen to so sheba shinru to go mar se lo ba ina. Tene riba mai te teg mares. Tene riba mai te 사주버를 짐발라 소바 소주바 레레야 하만나장 무셔바 마이노시 사주발레 솜비 사르르라 파신 조조가 주셔바 송신스 주셔바 송시 대다기 된 지준 마방바당 대다기든 지준 마방바당 자샤몽고 마방바당 루루당 투메 나지 장 뜻자와 나바젠도 장 머니비셔로스 Chebatu Sajebi Kosune, Numa Tanji Sebis, Sajebala Dajum Chaus, Dajuma im Chaus Odere. Chebatu Sajebi Kosune, Numa Tanji Sebi, Juba Tanji Nyawashi, Nandambala Nebi, Tse, Sanji Naji Tela, Tombani Tuban de Zanji, Sanjawa Menute, Nietudan Ran Sanji, Naji Jam, Nabama Tuban de Tubisos,
The Kanga Nipa?
or that Nibade.
Okay. So again, we've got to break up where there's commas, there's period. So in this reply, there's going to be various points, point 1 of the reply, point 2 of the reply. So this is very wrong view. If it were correct, when the children of the conquerors who have ascended to the great levels where they have attained the non-conceptual sublime wisdom that perceives the ultimate truth, period. In particular, the 8th level bodhisattvas. So it's saying, so the bodhisattva on the 8th level is the same as a foe destroyer. So it's said that the afflictive obstructions have been removed for the 8th level, the bodhisattva on the 8th ground. So we say that they are foe destroyers at that point. So here it's saying that the 8th level bodhisattvas who have control over non-conceptual wisdom would not need the bodhisattva deeds. And saying, so why would they, since they're already foe destroyers, then if this isn't necessary, why would they still do it? What's the reasoning for an 8th ground bodhisattva who's already a foe destroyer, already an arhat, to engage in it if it's not necessary? So that's the next point. Then the next point is, this is incorrect because the sutra on the 10 levels says that even though on each of the 10 levels there is an emphasis on one of the deeds, generosity, etc., it is not the case that they do not perform the other deeds, so it is said that they practice all 6 or 10 perfections on each level. Further, since Maitreya, Ajita Maitreya, Nagarjuna, and Asanga explain the meaning of these sutras in this fashion, it is not possible to interpret them otherwise. So the great masters of the Nalanda tradition interpret the scripture in this way. So based on all of these points and their interpretations, there's no way to interpret it other than it's necessary to have this union. In particular, bodhisattvas eliminate all afflictions on the 8th level. This is why we say that it's synonymous with foe destroyer. 8th level bodhisattva is synonymous with 8th ground bodhisattva is synonymous with foe destroyer because they've eliminated all the afflictive obstructions. Translators note not obstructions to omniscience, and that's what they're doing. That's why they're engaging in merit, to get rid of those other things. But therefore, when they stabilize on the ultimate, wherein they have quelled all elaborations, the Buddhas exhort them, explaining that they have to train in the bodhisattva deeds. With just this knowledge of emptiness, you cannot become enlightened, because the Shravakas and Prachika Buddhas have also obtained this non-conceptuality. So the Hiniyanist, the lesser vehicle practitioners, they're foe destroyers. They're hearers, solitary realizers, or Shravaka Prachika Buddha in Sanskrit. They aren't Buddhas, but they have this non-conceptual understanding of emptiness. So why? The question is, so why not? And the answer is because of this lacking bodhisattva deeds. Explaining, it says that the Buddhas come to them and exhort them and ask them to please come practice the bodhisattva deeds because they are lacking, even though they're already in nirvana. They've already become enlightened in the Hinayana vehicle, but they're lacking because they haven't gotten rid of these obstructions. So Rinpoche Nipa Kabartsar, Nyentu Dang Angel, then the Kabartsar.
Jobi, Daba Joba no Gaba Niro.
Shiro.
Daba Joba de Ketese Tombre, Tombaje, doba juba che nipa te gaba de la nga ndu nga te gaba de la nga re de ta se ten ma yong re de ta te yang ta ba yin na ne tuen tang bi de ba ngo sung tu bi me tu yi she tu bi sa je ba ma tu yi she tu bi sa chen bu chue ba Geshe na tang so wa de ba tu tang bu re nga ga na tang bu je ni ba che ba tu ma tu yi she sa ni ba de doba juba te gaba de nga re ngu do doba juba chi ma tu mu du ke de jin ba la so ba te de ke de jin ba la so bi she ba na la go na ha tu ne juba ne to ni ji to ba tem me na yin ji de yue na de chu gu nya ba lo da chen ba yin de so de doba juba ji ta de gaba de nga re de ma nga yu re de tar se de ta bu de nga ga na ta bu
The Ngama Kabaka song Rinpoche.
mama de ke de jin ba la so ba ke de jin ba la so ba she ba na la gu na tu ne juba ne to ni ji tu ba tem me na re
Jepa do JP Kapsu.
na yin ji te yue na tu ni tu ba tem yue na tu ni tu bi she da tem yue na te chu ge chang ba ne chang ba lo da chen ba yin de se de ba ju ba de re te ga ba de dar se de ma nga yu nga le yu da de dar te yang da ba
Lesso.
wa de ma nga ga na ta bu de
Lesso.
de ba ju ba te ga ba de ba ju te ga go ro te ga ba de la sa ji nga re
Okay. Ditar. Yandapa. The Tambo.
ta dang bu de dar yang da ba yin na ne de dar te yang da ba yin na ne tuen dang bi de ba ngong su tu bi ma tu she tu bi sa chen bu chu bi Geshe na dang si dang bu re
Lesso.
nye ba che ba do ma tu she la wang tu bi sa je bi shang sen na la shue ba ma gu ba ju na de ne ri ba ma yi de te mo mo do wa sa ju bu re la
Lesso.
jin ba la so ba su ju bi jor ba re yi yang
Lesso.
hama na ja ma shue ba ma yi no shi sa ju ba le song bi sa re la pa shin zhu gang ne ju xue ba song so pa shin zhu wo de yang len jie gu song de sa
Lesso.
song xin de da ge tun se ji sun ma phong ba dang
Lesso.
lu du dang
Lesso.
tu men na ji jiang de zhe yu na ba xian du zhang me ni bi shi ro
Lesso.
ji sun jia sha ma de lu du tu men sui da gan de wa re
Lesso.
xian du xie tu ma re si da
Lesso.
me ni bi shi ro che ba du sa ji bi ge su ne niu mo ba tang ji se bi shang ju sen ba sa ji ba yin na da zhong ba yin chao ni ge si niu ji bong bi chao niu mo ba
Lesso.
tang ji se bi zhe ba tang ji xie yu duan dang ba la ne bi ce shang ji na jin de la dong ba ni ji do ban de zang ji chang jiao me nu de ni tu dang rang shang ji na ji jiang na ba ma du bi xin de tu bi so do ni du bi xie le yue ba zang shang ji tu ma re do ni gong su du bi xie le de ni tu dang rang ji le yu re tu bi so xi wo de ba do ni ba re
Ale. Tupitso. Okay.
Yeah.
So
ga le yu ga le
the Yapalasan. So we have the opponent's position, just to go through this slowly again, which is practicing the deeds of generosity and so forth in a variety of ways is for when you do not have a firm knowledge of emptiness. When you do have this firm knowledge, then this is enough. So it's saying that once you've understood emptiness, you no longer have to do anything else. So then this is negated, and it'll be negated with 5 different ways of negation. So the first one is this. This is a very wrong view. If it were correct, when the children of the Karankars who have ascended to the great levels where they have attained the non-conceptual sublime wisdom that perceives the ultimate truth. And then so that there's a period there. We could rewrite it in our heads, but there's a period there. And then it says in particular, this is where number 2 starts. And number 2 goes on for a very long time. And the 8th level bodhisattvas who have control over non-conceptual wisdom would not need the bodhisattva deeds. This is incorrect because the sutra on the 10 levels says that even though on each of the 10 levels there is an emphasis on one of the deeds, generosity, etc., it is not the case that they do not perform the other deeds. So it is said that they practice all 6 perfections or 10 perfections on each level. So when we look at the perfections, sometimes the perfections there are 6, sometimes there are 10. 10 as a note to match up with the levels and so forth. But the 6 perfections are, there's an idea that they match up and the others aren't practiced all of the time. So the point here is that all of the whether it's the 6 perfections or the 10 perfections, they're all being practiced by the practitioner all the way up to the state of Buddhahood. And it's saying that this is backed up in all the great texts. Further, since Maitreya, Nagarjuna, and Asanga explain the meaning of these sutras in this fashion, it is not possible to interpret them otherwise. So it's saying that the 8th, and then it says, in particular, bodhisattvas eliminate all afflictions on the 8th level. So if a bodhisattva on the 8th ground is the same as a foe destroyer, then why would they need to do anything else? The reason they need to is they are not a Buddha yet, and it's saying that here, in order for the 8th ground bodhisattva to have gotten to where he or she is, and to get to where he or she wants to go, which is Buddhahood, the practice of method and wisdom have both had to be there. The practice of the perfections other than wisdom have had to have been engaged in. And it's saying if the sutra on the 10 levels says that they practice it throughout all of the 10 levels, well, 8th level, 9th level, 10th level, the bodhisattva already has this foe destroyer status, then it wouldn't be necessary if there was nothing to gain from merit at that point for them to continue, as it says in sutras, to carry on those practices. In particular, bodhisattvas eliminate all afflictions on the 8th level. Again, the afflictive obstructions by the 8th ground of the bodhisattva, which is on the path of meditation, have all been gotten rid of. It's the imprints of them that have not. And the imprints of those afflictions are what keep one from being omniscient. The reason the Buddha is omniscient is because those have been removed. The obstructions to omniscience. And the obstructions to omniscience are just the imprints of the afflictive obstructions. So the afflictive obstructions are removed by the Hinayanists and by the Bodhisattva at the 8th ground, but those other imprints aren't yet. So that requires more time. And it says, therefore, when they stabilize on the ultimate, wherein they have quelled all elaboration, the Buddhas exhort them, explaining that they have to train in the Bodhisattva deeds. With just this knowledge of emptiness, you cannot become enlightened because the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas have also obtained this non-conceptuality. So it's saying that if you look at the completed path of a Hinayanist, of a Hinayana hearer or a solitary realizer, you see that they have this knowledge of emptiness, but they're not a Buddha. They have to be, a Buddha has to come to them and beg them to come practice the Bodhisattva deeds, even though they've completed their own paths and are in nirvana. So that's the point that's made here, and that's the second point. Digsun. Less so. Less so. So this view that the 8th ground bodhisattva has gotten rid of all of the afflictive obstructions is the view of the highest school. When we look at tenet systems, there are 4 tenet systems. There is the Vibhashika school, which is great exposition school, the Sautrantika school, sutra school, the Chittamantran school, which is the mind-only school, and the Madhyamaka school, which is called the Middle Way School. The Middle Way School is divided into two categories, the Middle Way Autonomy and the Middle Way a Consequence School. This view is according to the Middle Way Consequence School, which is the highest view in the tenet system. So the view that we're presenting here is the highest view that is presentable, and that is that the eighth ground bodhisattva has completed and gotten has gotten rid of all of the afflictive obstructions, and the only thing that remains for that practitioner is the same thing that remains for a Hinayana in nirvana, and that's the imprints of the afflictive obstructions. Diksun. So we find that in the Middle Way Autonomy School, which is the school just below the Consequence School, but is still a Middle Way school, there are some differences of view in relation to this. But in the view of the Middle Way Consequence School, if one has achieved the eighth ground of a bodhisattva, he or she has necessarily abandoned the afflictive obstructions. Sumba. You know, okay. Okay, so, okay, this Sumba Tsar? Okay. So now we get into the third point. Look, so this is Buddha Shakyamuni speaking in this context. I just want to see something here. That's why. Okay, so I was just looking at the way that the Buddha really said it. It's this immeasurable. I don't see tseme. I got tseme. Okay, so my immeasurable body wisdom Yeshe Dang. Shingla. Shingla?
다진 표란.
Pure Land. Okay, Tuchena. Okay, so here it's speaking of, okay, so the Buddha is saying, look at my immeasurable body. So what is immeasurable body? It's referring to the major and minor marks that the Buddha possesses. The Buddha possesses 32 major marks and 80 minor marks. So this is what there isn't a better body, if you will. So this immeasurable means that there isn't a better one. So the Buddha has these marks, so it's saying, look at these marks. So the Buddha is stating, using these things as a sign of proof. It's not said in a, I'm looking at the Tibetan, it's not said in a braggartly way, it's said in a very matter-of-fact way. It says here, look at look at the body that possesses these 32 major marks and 80 minor marks. Look at the wisdom that I possess. Look at the Buddha's wisdom. Immeasurable realm. This is referring to the Pure Land that the Buddha abides in. So it's saying there's no better place. There's no better wisdom. There's no better body. There's no better place to live. So this immeasurable realm is the word for Pure Land is used. So this pure realm and so forth. So and so forth means and all of the other excellent qualities that can be pointed out as well. It says, you also do not have my powers and so on. Joyously persevere for the sake of all of these attributes. So even though right now you don't possess these excellent qualities, you can and possess all of the qualities that allow you to be able to possess these excellent qualities. So all of these excellent qualities are reachable by everyone. So the Buddha is saying, look at the things that I have, and everyone can do this as well. Think about the living beings not at peace, disturbed by various afflictions, but do not discard this forbearance, meditation on emptiness, and so forth. To be satisfied with a certain trivial meditative concentration and to set aside everything else is something ridiculed by scholars. So Rinpoche said, if someone presents this as a teaching and says that this is what all you need to do is empty your mind and you don't need anything other than this emptiness meditation. If this was presented to anybody with scholastic aptitude, they would laugh at you.
This one.
Dixon.
Or the but Jiba the Nimatere, Jiba.
As
Jiba the Tinya Badaldua. They are the good on Sajubindo.
less so.
Sajubali, Jija, you say, Shanju Sambi, Sa, Mayo Andala, Nebis. Shanju Samba ne, Hunji, Malanji, Tu Jeba Tang, Chuju Gui Jun, Tela Neba Tela, Sanji Junden de Yinshebi, Yeshi Nyawa, Ruban Zetos, Tela Ndeki Je, Tela Ndeki Je Gazeto, Yang Sanji Sungdua, Rijibo, leso, Sanji ji Chutanji Jesu, Toba Shawala, Ndene, Tuantambi, Zoba Yina, Yuanjang Nanji, Tu Jutan, Manjibala Soba, Sanji Shin Pansung Soba, Na Chila Manjes, Na Shajaman Buddha Tabi Shintang, 네 또 줄라서 봐도 전투를 말해서 칠라 매제스 사지지 최평송 봐 대용수 제와 샤이시를 사지게 네 사지게 연대 평송 봐 토바 샤이시를 전주 동시에 전화대시 술을 메고 세워지로다 전주 동시에 저비 군대장 만드시 네 저바 공부스 저바 Zebigo, ne, Zebala, Nejila Jemina Zeba, 등에 달래 주제 받는 뭐요 말봐. 저비 군대니 장 만두시. 제집을 최지대 따라셔와 나바다바 토장 셰바 수수주 마저와 녀모바 나투 근도 요한조와 나바 나투지 애조한데다 데달라 송시스 녀모바가 때 추드게 두들 산당고 생사래 야 레지보 회지 하나다 세제지 투버 샤와다 이시지 고산지 마셔봐 템바지시스 남할라다 이시게 와도저게 연대 중가 템바지 고레스 템바지시 야 리지보 근데 추나지 추니도 대신셔바나 쇼야로 마주야로 추나 추니인데네 내반단다 데다르 추탄지 동바니다 추탄지 미소메바오스 다 뭐도 갈래갈 주는 말이야 뉴뉴뉴 주나.
Okay. Okay, so now the sutra on the 10 levels says, and Rinpoche said there's a lot of information here, so we'll go through it slowly. Listen, there are children of the conquerors, bodhisattvas, who abide in this bodhisattva's immovable level, the 8th level. So the 8th level is called the level of immovable, who have generated the power of previous aspirational prayers and who are stabilized in the stream of entrance of the teaching. A meditation on emptiness. Who have stabilized in the stream of entrance to the teaching. Meditation on emptiness. The Bhagavan Buddhas have then accomplished a Tathagata's sublime wisdom, saying this: children of good lineage, very good, very good. This goal, the knowledge of all the Buddha qualities, is a forbearance of the ultimate. Nevertheless, you do not have my 10 powers, fearlessness, and so forth, the Buddha qualities in all their richness. Joyously persevere at seeking these perfected qualities of a Buddha. Do not throw away this very entrance to forbearance. Children of good lineage, though you have thus attained peace and liberation, think about the ordinary childish beings who are not at peace and are driven by various upsurges of diverse afflictions. Children of good lineage, recollect your earlier aspirational prayers, what you should attain for the welfare of living beings, and the inestimable entrance to sublime wisdom. Also, the children of good lineage, this is the reality of phenomena. Whether there are Tathagatas or not, the sphere of reality simply remains. It is the emptiness of all phenomena, the non-apprehension of all things. Not by this alone are the Tathagatas to be distinguished. All the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, also attain this non-conceptual real state, real nature. The Kangalo, also children of good lineage, look at my immeasurable body, my immeasurable sublime wisdom, my immeasurable Buddha realm, my immeasurable actualization of sublime wisdom, my immeasurable halo of light, and the immeasurable pure modulations of my voice, and produce something similar in yourselves. So here, this is showing all of the excellent qualities that the Buddha possesses, and showing that these excellent qualities are qualities that everyone can possess, that though can only be created by a complete path, a complete union of all of the practices necessary to produce that result. Do so.
당아서데 라니심부터 셰도 거스 말바 라니심 셰도 데 글로 점바 셰도 만로선 된거에서 다 글로 녀마 가주 사자 어디서로 어디 쳐봐요 말았어
Lesso.
글로 개바 녀마 개바 사자 개바
Lesso.
네 가주 개바 지금 때바 있는 거 같이 봐야 되는 게 어요 말았어.
So it is also not to say that this book is written by Lama Tsongkhapa. This is not the only wisdom that there is. Rinpoche is saying this isn't the only wisdom. Lama Tsongkhapa is Galupa's school, but the other schools of the Nyingma, Kagyu, and Sakya also have correct view. There is nothing that's mutually exclusive, and the correct view is the correct view. And many masters hold this correct view, and it can be found in all of the different schools within Tibetan Buddhism of the Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, and Galu. It's not something that's exclusive within this kind of Tibetan Buddhism. It's something that pervades all of Tibetan Buddhism. So it's stated, one of the Panchen Lama stated that the Longyan Jisurnang keep. So if one is a real scholar, one can read the diversity within scriptures and realize if they're a true yogi that they are all the same. The meaning is all the same. So a true yogi will pull the same meaning out of these scriptures and see that they are all the same. So now at this point, it's very important that we do proper dedication. The Buddha has stated that dedicating virtue is important because it carries with you, it stays with you until it becomes the cause for your Buddhahood. The Buddha said that like a drop of water from a bucket that's put into the ocean, that drop of water is not extinguished until the entire ocean is extinguished. Likewise, a properly dedicated virtue is carried with you until your enlightenment, that it becomes a cause for. So it's very important that we dedicate this to our full enlightenment so that it becomes a cause for our Buddhahood and remains with us until that point. Thank you very much, everyone. And sorry about the confusion in there. We're using multiple commentaries, and they aren't in English, so sometimes it can get confusing. And thank you for everybody's patience in there. And concluding mandala offering and dedication prayers right at the end here. And we do that just in English. And we do Samanta Bhadra dedication, long life prayer for Dalai Lama, and long life prayer for Rinpoche. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and essential teachings of Venerable Losang to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara, Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Suji Rimshi Gutsi Shapi Denrona, Natsu Lamrim Chenmo Konga Chirona. Thank you, everyone.